What's going on, top 5 scary family, and welcome back. Survival movies are always a blast. Even if they're bad, it's still fun to yell at your TV about what you would do in that situation. Plus, you might learn a couple of neat survival tricks in the meantime. So for today's list, we're counting down our top 5 survival horror movies you need to watch. I'm Taylor McWatters, you're you. Let's get counting. Kicking off the list at number 5, Buried. Starring Ryan Reynolds as the lead and only actor in the movie really, and directed by Rodrigo Cortez, the 2010 box film Buried left us breathless. After waking up in a pitch black wooden coffin buried underground somewhere during a job in Iraq, American truck driver Paul Conroy has to figure out where he is, why he's there, and how the hell he's getting out of this coffin alive, with just a lighter and a cell phone with lousy reception. Ryan Reynolds is the only visible actor in the entire movie, and it was filmed in only 16 days. And right now you're probably thinking, cool, I don't want to watch it. That sounds boring. No, Ryan Reynolds himself suffers from claustrophobia in real life, and you can see it in the film, and it's amazing to watch. It's so fun. So Paul Conroy, which is Ryan Reynolds' character, quickly learns that he is being held for ransom for $5 million. Now, I've said enough, that's it. I'm not going to give you any more details about the plot because I truly believe this is one of the best hidden gems out there. As you watch Ryan Reynolds run out of oxygen in the movie, you yourself start to feel the same. It gives you so much anxiety. That's what makes Buried so great. Ryan Reynolds reacts how an average Joe would. He gets scared, he gets upset, he has these panic attacks. Like, he doesn't play the tough guy too much. This movie finds the fine line between, oh, that's what I would have done, and ooh, no way I could ever do that. It's great. If you haven't seen Buried, I'm sure you'll find something in there that you like. Plus, the ending is awesome, sparks a lot of conversation in a good way, so check it out. And before we move on to number 4, if you haven't done so already, please make sure to throw us a thumbs up after this video, because it helps us out here at the studio quite a bit. Bless your souls. All right, now back to the spooky list. Number 4, I Am Legend. Released in 2007, written by Mark Protasevich and directed by Frank Lawrence, Will Smith stars in this dark apocalypse survival movie based off the 1954 Richard Matheson novel. It is set in an abandoned New York City. We see grass growing through middle of intersections, buildings are falling apart, everything's a mess, and then in comes this sick red Mustang. Lo and behold, we meet Will Smith's character, Robert Neville. Robert is a scientist and he's the only living human left in New York, and his hands are quite full. So while fighting off infected humans, who at this point are like these undead vampire-like scary creatures, this guy also has to try and come up with a cure to save humans using his own blood. He just happens to be the only person immune to this virus, hence why he's the lone survivor. But these creatures don't just mosey around and moan and attack whatever just happens to be in their way. No, these things are smart. They're hunters. They're super fast and they're very, very strong. So dying is still a very real possibility, even in a world where you're the only one left. The virus itself was man-made. It actually started out as the cure to cancer, which sounds just lovely. I, like many others, enjoyed this movie a lot. Will Smith is so good in this. He plays a guy who is in the middle of losing his mind, basically. Like, it's gone to a point in this world where he's laid out mannequins around New York in like these various locations to interact with. Because he's been trying to save humans for like 3 years now in this movie. 3 years alone? Guys, I was losing my mind 3 minutes into lockdown. This movie often cuts back to when the outbreak first started, which is neat, because you see Robert with his wife and his daughter, and it's interesting to see how the world got to this point, while at the same time trying to see Robert try and get out of it, you know? And if you haven't seen I Am Legend, just, remove the rock from which you live under, grab your family dog, get a blanket, get nice and cozy, and have a nice movie night. You'll love it. And number 3, The Shallows. Starring Blake Lively and directed by Jamais Calais-Serra, this 2016 shark thriller is about a medical student named Nancy Adams, played of course by Blake Lively, as she sets out to a secluded beach to hit some waves to help her get over a close death. Now, after she grabs her board and gets going, she's only a mere 200 meters away from shore when a great white shark sets its sights on Nancy. So terrified, she books it to the nearest rock, and that's kind of above water. It's not an island, it's just like a little boop. And she waits for Jaws' angry cousin to leave. She waits and waits and keeps waiting, and unfortunately this shark is just in no rush today. It has all the patience in the world and waits for Nancy to return to the water. This shark has been around the block a few times. It knows this rock is very petite and eventually its dinner will have to return to the shallows. This movie was written by Anthony Jaswinski and directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, who is the same director that did those Liam Neeson action flicks, like The Commuter, Nonstop, Run All Night. So if you were a fan of the tension in those action movies, you're gonna like this shark horror tension as well. I liked it a lot more than I thought it would, to be honest. When I saw the trailer about a shark stalking somebody, I was like, okay, I wasn't quite sold, but my mind was quickly changed once I clicked play. It's very well executed, and if this is the last good shark movie, I'm okay with that. Number 2, The Descent. Directed by Neil Marshall, released in 2005, The Descent follows Sarah, played by Shauna McDonald, as she copes with the death of her late husband and daughter. A lot of these have to do with death, I think it's weird. So her and her close friends decide to grab some ropes and explore some caves to help her get over the traumatic experience. So once they get close to the entrance of the caves, her friends start to list off all these possible dangers of their expedition, which is just the perfect time to now bring this up. Great. Those side effects being dehydration, disorientation, claustrophobia, panic attacks, paranoia, and hallucinations. Like, awesome. Thanks for the reminder, Rebecca. We'll see you in there. And as if any of those side effects don't scare you enough, they end up getting trapped in the cave after the entrance collapses. And then soon they meet the Crawlers. The Crawlers are a group of scary humanoid-like creatures that are blind, but have evolved to live in complete darkness inside of these caves. And they can also crawl around the walls like they're Spider-Man, which is just neat. And obviously they're super gross looking. They're like dirty bars of soap that just came to light. They're like all wet and they slip around. On top of a great horror movie, the group of friends also have this secondary plot that evolves between them. There's a little bit of drama that unfolds when they go in. So even during the quiet moments when nothing scary is happening on screen, the plot is still moving and keeping you anxious the entire time. So many layers of goodness. All wrapped up in an hour and 45 minutes. We love that. And if you aren't a fan of how it ends, don't you worry. There's an alternate ending that some have actually preferred over the one that they went with. They're both so good, yet so different. Many have argued the alternate ending is more suitable, but I don't know. If you've seen them both, comment down below which one you think. Original or alternate. Don't spoil it, just say one of those two. Down there, let's go. I'm curious what the ratio is. And finally, number 1, we have The Mist. Starring Thomas Jane, Marcia Gay Harden, and everybody's favorite police captain, Andre Braugher, the film finds a group of civilians trapped in a grocery store as a crazy storm blows in and causes a touch of chaos. Now, getting locked inside of a grocery store may not sound too scary because, you know, Mr. Noodles and chocolate, but the storm leaves this thick mist that just lingers outside of the grocery store, so they're not really sure if they can leave. But here's the kicker. Here's when it starts to get into full gear. The mist is full of terrifying creatures. So what started off as a trip to grab some groceries is now the tale of survival against these mysterious alien-like creatures. The movie came out in 2007 and Frank Darabont wrote and directed this masterpiece. On top of what may be the best ending to a horror movie, the movie has a lot of tense scenes, of course. I mean, in movies like The Descent, we have this group who chooses to go into the cave and then they have to try and survive and escape. But these guys are just your average Joes. Like, they're just there because they need eggs, you know? So it's pretty easy to relate to the characters and how they react to all this action that's happening. And it's not just one monster either. They're like these giant spiders, they're like a pterodactyl type creature. It's just a hot mess. Stephen King himself even said that he was genuinely frightened by this adaptation of his novella. So if that doesn't sell you, I don't know what will. Okay guys, before we wrap up, we're gonna head to some comments from one of our last videos, top 5 horror stories from North America. First comment comes from Jara Killingback. They say you gotta do Australia next. Dude, no way. The spiders in Australia alone are horror stories in itself. Like the clock spider. If you don't know what the clock spider is, Google clock spider. Like, look at this thing. If I saw that, if I looked at a clock and its legs moved, I would shit my pants. I've always wanted to go to Australia though. I hear it's great. And next comment comes from Ariane V. Saez. Sorry if I butchered your name. They say, I absolutely love how in English, Ouija board sounds like Luigi board for my Spanish ears. Man, I wish it was Luigi board. You just move the easel and then a green pipe comes out and just like plump 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 sucks you into like the dark world. Also, it's not your Spanish ears. I just say Ouija in the most Canadian way. Ouija! And the last one is from Lydia Dudas. They say, can I please have a shout out? Yep. There it is. Thank you for following the channel, Lydia, you rock. Well, there we have it guys. Which of these survival flicks have you seen? Which are your favorites? Let us know in the comments down below so we can check them out and then maybe, I don't know, we can break them down when a sneaky part 2 comes along. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Taylor McWatters and we'll catch you next time. Later, skaters. Secluded beach to hit some waves to help her cope with a death. 7 coffees in the bag. Let's do it.